This is my 21-22 Premier League predictions for this upcoming season. I hope you enjoy.
My predictions of the EPL 21-22 season. I believe that Norwich will come dead last in 20th spot, as I feel they did not have enough strength, and with the likes of Buendia and their main man leaving, I just don't see them firing at all this season, and I see them coming in dead last, and I don't see them going down very convincingly, and I don't think they'll stay up in the Premier League for this upcoming season. In 19th spot, I've gone for a shock maybe to some people, but I feel Burnley will go down as one of the relegation places, as I feel they don't have enough new players, enough new faces, and with the new owners, I just don't feel like they're making the same progress as I feel that they had before, and I feel like they haven't freshened up the team at all. And I think they've been in the Premier League for too long, playing the same football with the same players and the same manager. Although Sean Dyche has been a good manager for them and getting them to really good finishes before, but I just feel this season that they'll go down in the Premier League. In the last relegation spot, I'm going for the newly promoted side and new to the Premier League. I'm going to go for Brentford. Although I did put them higher than Burnley as I feel like they play a more attacking and progressive style of football, I still feel that it will be no match to the Premier League standards. And I feel like Ivan Toney is a very good player and they got very good quality, but I feel like it will be a gulp in talent between Brentford and the other likes of the teams in the Premier League with the other teams above them. So I do feel Brentford can make a good account for themselves in the Premier League, almost like Fulham did last year. I was playing some pretty good football, but I do feel like Brentford will be the last team to go down with along with the other two. So my relegation spot teams are Norwich, Burnley, and Brentford. In 17th, 16th, and 15th, I have Brighton in 17th, Southampton in 16th, and Watford in 15th. I do feel that Brighton won't have that good of a season, although they tend to play some pretty good football. I just feel they haven't made enough signings, and they let a few players go with the likes of Ben White. Um, they let what's the name, Matt Ryan go, and possibly Kaleb Basuma leave before the end of the window. And I just don't feel like they'll have enough. Southampton, they are on the verge of losing Vestergaard to Leicester City. James Ward-Prowse is injured, and if Tottenham, who is interested in signing him, if they pick up James Ward-Prowse, I feel like Southampton can be in very big trouble with the likes of losing Danny Ings as well. And I feel Watford in 15th spot. I do feel Watford will do pretty good for themselves. I think 15th is a pretty good finish for them, just staying up in the Premier League as their new season back. But I feel like Watford has a pretty decent side with Ishmael Assar, Troy Deeney. They got some pretty good players in there, so I'll put them in 15th, and I feel like they'll stay up in the Premier League as the newly promoted side. So in 14th spot, I have Crystal Palace. Under the new manager, Patrick Vieira, we don't really know his style of play. And if it was anything to go by Nice or at New York City in the MLS, it's not something too proud to be looked upon. So I feel that with the likes of Zaha, Eze, I feel like quality will still shine through and they'll be half decent side, but I feel like they won't be a real force in the Premier League compared to some of the other sides. In 13th, I have Leeds. I feel like Marcel Bielsa's football will be kind of snuffed out a little bit because it's been their second season now in the Premier League, and I think some of the teams will start to understand their attack in football. And they didn't make too many big signings, so I feel like they'll go down compared to last season. And just above them in 12th, I think it'll be Aston Villa. They have made some tremendous signings with Bundia, Bailey. They've signed, but they also let their main man Jack Grealish go to Manchester City for £100 million. So I do feel Aston Villa will be half decent, but I don't feel they'll be as good as they were last year, although they made some really good signings. Now, in 11th spot is actually my surprise team of the season, and I feel like they'll be a very good dark horse in this season. Although they are in 11th, I'd actually put in 11th as my spot Newcastle. I feel Newcastle will be a very big dark horse this season if they can keep their players fit. Saint Maximin, Almiron, Callum Wilson, possibly Joe Willock. They've got a really good side, and I feel like they could be pretty good this season if they could keep it injury free. So I have them in 11th. In 10th, I have Wolves. I feel like they'll be much better than they were last season as they got a new manager in. And with the likes of Raul Jimenez coming back in the squad, I think they'll be a much better attacking team, although they are very good defensively as well. And in ninth, I have Everton under Rafa Benitez. I feel like they still have a lot of work to do. They didn't make the biggest signings, but they still have a pretty decent squad with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, Digne, Allen, Doucouré. They have some very good players still, so I think they'll come in ninth. No higher, no lower. It'll just be a standard season for Everton, I feel. In the eighth spot, I have David Moyes' West Ham. I feel like they'll have a pretty decent season again, but I don't feel like it'll be as good of a season last year, as I feel the season, the other so-called Big Six, will be much better than they were last season, and I feel West Ham just won't have enough quality in their team to compete with the likes of Man United, Liverpool, and those other teams, shall we? So in seventh, I have Leicester City. I think they'll be half decent this year. Although I'm not always impressed with their style of football at times, and with the likes of possibly James Madison leaving and Wesley Fofana has been injured for a few months, I feel like they can struggle. So, but they have made some good signings in the new striker Daka. So we'll just have to see what happens with Leicester. But I think they'll come seventh. So in sixth is actually a debate. In sixth, I have Spurs, but that's only if Harry Kane leaves. So if Harry Kane leaves Spurs, I have Spurs coming in sixth. But if Harry Kane does stay at Spurs, I believe it will be Arsenal in sixth. So if Kane leaves, which I think he probably will go to Man City, so for argument's sake, we'll put Spurs in sixth and Arsenal in fifth. I have Arsenal in fifth, because I do think it'll be a much better season from them this year, as they have no European football at all, so they can just throw everything at the Premier League. They've made a Ben White signing. They've made some good targeted signings for the future in Lokonga and Nuno Tavares, and I feel like they still have more players on their radar coming in because they spent so much money on a center back that they really didn't need. I mean, they did need, but they didn't really need him as they had other priorities as an attacking midfielder, striker, or a right back, for example. So I feel like if they're going 50 mil for a center back, they still have to figure out their targets as well. So I think they'll will do something in the market still big, but I don't think they'll be enough to challenge the big four as we're going to get onto next. In the fourth spot, I have Manchester United. I think Manchester United will come in fourth, as I feel like last season they were a bit too high in the league for my liking, and I felt they were almost up there on a false position. So I think this season they'll come back down to reality, although they have made some absolutely brilliant signings in Rafael Varane and Jadon Sancho. So I feel like they could probably be. I think these top four teams can all be contenders, sorry, but I feel like Manchester United just won't be there, and I feel like they'll just shore up in quality compared to the last three teams here. In third spot, and this was a hard one to decide, but I've gone for Chelsea, Thomas Tuchel's Blues. With the likes of Lukaku coming in, they can be an absolute force this season after they just come off of winning the Super Cup and the Champions League. They have one hell of a side full of young players and older experienced players with the likes of Thiago Silva still contributing in the side. And I feel like they could be a real big force this season. And I feel like they can push the other top two teams, Liverpool, Man City, all the way. So it comes down to the top two, Liverpool, Man City. Who do I have in second? It's Pep Guardiola. I think Pep Guardiola's team will just be short this season, as I feel without a number nine so far starting the season off. And I just feel that Liverpool's deep defense is just way too strong. Allison, Trent, Kanate, Van Dyke, Robertson, and they also have the likes of Joe Gomes on the bench. Although they haven't made any signings really in the transfer window, and they let Genie Wijnaldum go on a free, I still think just Liverpool's defense is just too good. And their front three of Mane, Salah, and Firmino would jot off the bench if they like as well. I feel like it would just be too much this season. And the main reason being basically Van Dijk's coming back from injury. It's almost like a new signing for them. That's how good he is. If you have Van Dijk in any of the top eight sides, you're basically almost a title contender in my eyes because he is just so good. And I think Manchester City will just fall short, although they are an amazing side as well. And I feel like Man City's focus this year could probably be more on winning the Champions League, although the Pep Guardiola does take the Premier League seriously as well, obviously. But I feel like the Champions League is more of a priority this season. So yeah, in second I have Manchester City, and in first in the champions of the 21-22 season, I have Liverpool.
My top goal scorer for the upcoming season is Mohamed Salah, as I feel that he'll bag so many goals in this Liverpool front three in this amazing side, and I also believe that he'll win Player of the Year at the end of the season, and I feel he'll have such an amazing season along with Liverpool winning the Premier League. And my 21-22 top assist of the Premier League season has to go to Human Son, as I feel that he'll get so many assists, especially if Harry Kane stays. But even if Harry Kane doesn't, I do think Son is going to have an amazing season with Tottenham Hotspurs. So, what do you guys think? Do you think Jordan Henderson will be lifting the Premier League trophy, or do you think Pep Guardiola's Blues will be lifting the Premier League trophy at the end of the season, or even someone else? I personally feel it'll be Jordan Henderson, but I want to know what you guys think, as this is a very interesting time of the season as we come upon the new start of the Premier League season, and I can't wait to see what unfolds.